Camera rolling?
Rolling?
Sound rolling? Alright, action.
Alright. Richard, could you briefly introduce yourself, your name and where you're from and where you live now?
My name is Richard Lubman. I am originally from Southern California, Palos Verdes, and I'm living in Palos Verdes now with my mother. But for 25 years, I lived in Texas, and during that time, I had a lot of different animals around, and one of them was a capybara, and actually, I had two different capybaras.
What was your life like before you got your capybaras?
My life before I had a capybara was a lot less responsibility, a lot less having to get home at a specific time to take care of the capybara. So I had a lot more freedom. Going to work was not a problem, and but after the capybara, things had to go according to his schedule, and by his there were two different capybaras.
Okay. And how would you describe what a capybara is and what makes a capybara unique from other household pets?
A capybara is the world's largest rodent. They're originally from Venezuela or other parts of South America. What makes them unique from other pets is that they're probably as smart as I would say an average dog, or maybe a little below average dog. But they're an herbivore. They only eat vegetables and greens. And Gary, the capybara that I got closest to, also liked candy.
So what kind of candy did you give?
Gummy bears, red licorice, even candy corns, but I don't think he really liked the candy corns that much. Most of his desire for candy came from his previous owner. He was an adoptee, so that person gave him all kinds of weird foods that he became, some he liked and some he didn't. But he definitely he had a sweet tooth, two giant sweet teeth, and they were, for mostly that kind of candy that's like gummy kind of candies.
What was your kind of daily life like with Gary, just on an average day?
An average day, we would get up, walk around the house. I'm disabled, so I would use my walker, and he would follow me nose to knee around the house a couple times. And then I would feed him corn and lettuce, and then we would hope he would graze, but sometimes he wouldn't graze, and that would make things a lot more expensive. But he used to eat 3 tubs of lettuce a day and like 4 to 6 pieces of corn, full pieces. And he liked all the corn, not just the kernels, but the husk and everything else. He loved corn.
Okay, great. And then could you describe just the event and how it kind of changed your life?
So Gary had some dental difficulties, and we tried to intervene by going to the vet school many times to try to reduce an infection he had. He had osteomyelitis, which is a bone disease, and we tried many different therapies, and nothing was successful. But ultimately, he died, and I was devastated because I was so used to him being around all the time, and he was frequently sleeping with me in the winter, and just always around, following me, watching me. And then for the sudden shock of his absence and whatever torture that he was going through, that we were trying to keep him alive with, was just heartbreaking. And then after he was gone, I decided I didn't want to have another capybara. He was the second, and the first one died, and I felt like it was pretty easy to replace that capybara because I knew that things were stable, and we had everything set up for the capybara. But the second one, I felt like I got close enough to where I just couldn't take it, having another one. So after that, we would go visit capybaras at zoos, and we could even get into their enclosures because we became very friendly with the zoo owner. But I just wanted to keep my distance from getting that close to a capybara again.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a really difficult time. What could you describe maybe like the hardest moment for you trying to
The hardest moment was realizing that we had spent so much time sort of torturing Gary by trying to get rid of his disease. And so we would have like 4 days where he was almost not respondent after the vet, because we would be, doing everything we could to get the disease to shrink back. But ultimately, he didn't know that maybe there was months of okay living after that. So I'm sure he was just feeling like we're torturing him, and he didn't necessarily understand why. And then to realize that in the end, that torture wasn't going to work, and we were going to have, him die on us.
And what was your most fondest memory of Gary?
My fondest memory of Gary was swimming with Gary and spinning him around in the pool and throwing him backwards. He was very excited about playing by being thrown around like a kid would be thrown around in the pool. And he also was somewhat competitive. He liked being spun around, and we would count how many times he would be spun, and he seemed to know that he was spinning more times than he had previously spun, so he liked to do that.
Great. And lastly, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I think that capybaras are an appropriate pet for people who have enough land to deal with them. I don't think they're appropriate for, an urban person. Maybe some smaller capybaras could be bred, but right now there's, when we started, we were the only people with capybaras, and now there's probably 50 people with capybaras, and some of them treat them kind of like goats, and some of them treat them more like a dog.